just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood! And here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
I believe I have petitioned to change my ESRB rating from E to something more appropriate. Hello, everyone. Trying out video for the first time. At least I'm fresh onto this particular experiment, so apologies for the mess, and if my dog gets up, you'll probably see her, but she's sleeping pretty hard. Tonight, on Damn You Hollywood, we are talking about Pixar, and the Pixar people being unhappy, because they are. We are talking Luca, which was released straight onto streaming on Disney Plus over this last weekend, and that's, it's a good time had by all, hopefully. Joining us on this episode, per usual, we have Alexis Hejna from Honeysuckle Rose Creations. You can see her Twitter handle on the screen if you're doing the video thing. Hi, Alexis. How are you?
Doing good. Your dog may be fast asleep. Mine's behind me with her Himalayan yak chew.
Ah, very good. Maybe we will get to see her pounce on your head, and maybe we won't. It's very exciting.
We will keep you updated on this late-breaking news story. Also joining us...
Wait, did you say late-breaking news?
And now, I'm up at News Flash.
Robert, you are going to have to learn not to feed him, okay?
There's no way. He's got too many.
Breathe. Maybe stop breathing.
I've seen his soundboard. There's too much. He can always find something.
You were saying, sir?
You can see them if you're doing video, you can see them in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. If not, well, if you're doing the audio only, here's Mark's kids, Lilly and Jonas. How you two doing?
Hi.
What up? Damn on potatoes.
There it is.
Oh, boy.
It's gonna be a long hour, Robert. Buckle in.
Yeah.
I can't breathe.
All right. As mentioned, tonight we are reviewing Luca, the latest Pixar Animation Studios feature film. This one brought to you by a different director. Not a complete newbie, but I should have done this earlier. But someone whose work I was not terribly familiar with beforehand.
Enrico Casarosa.
Thank you, as my computer is horribly slow.
So he was a storyboard artist at Pixar. He did the animated short film La Luna.
Which is very good.
Oh, brilliant. But this was his directorial debut.
Solid. Not going to complain too much if this is your first time out. Your second one better be good, but... Mark, I kind of joked that I was waiting for Pixar to make me cry over Lovecraftian deep ones with this particular film, which is a reference, which is a somewhat obscure reference, but there's actually a handful of Lovecraft imagery that's kind of blended into this movie in a fun way.
I was gonna say, can you talk about that for a minute? Because I know I kind of in my head had this idea that like, oh, this one. When we talked before the show started, that this one didn't quite hit you in the feels like some other Pixar's had. And I actually just re-listened to your and Jeff Harris from 401 Mania's review of Pixar villains for Everyone Loves a Bad Guy. And there are some Pixar, some especially that have hit both of us, different ones for different reasons, that hit us really, really hard and like, you know, sad feelings, but we're glad we watched it kind of a thing. And I thought that's what was going to happen here. I thought like this show was going to begin with kind of like just letting you vent whatever feelings just made you feel. But you said this one was sort of the mid-tier. It was fine kind of Pixar, which I was surprised because I thought, you know, with the Lovecraftian monster thing that it was, it would hit you harder, which it did not.
Yeah, Lovecraft doesn't hit you hard in the feels. It's more existential terror. And
okay.
if you're not familiar with his work, then I'm not going to give you a dissertation on the man at the moment. But there's some fun little imagery sprinkled throughout. I think towards the end of the movie, in one of the like chalk drawing graphics they had before the very end, they referred to them as deep ones. One of the houses that Julia delivers fish to has the kind of popular Cthulhu face on the door handles that open up.
Okay, I didn't notice that when I watched it.
It's small stuff. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But again, it's Pixar, so even the worst Pixar movie, well, second to worst, Cars 2 should be burned. Like that should never be spoken of again. It's terrible.
Hang on, let's ask the experts on this. Jonas and Lily. Jonas first, then Lily. You have seen Cars 2. It's the second Cars because 2 follows 1.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of Cars 2? Because you've heard the old man at the sea say that it's the worst thing ever. I don't think I disagreed with that, but it was still amusing to me. But I mean, this stuff is geared towards you guys. What did you think of Cars 2?
Well, I don't really remember much of it, so I'm just going to say it's good.
Okay. Good answer. Do you remember any of it, Lily?
Not exactly.
What's
It's been so long since I've seen the Cars movies.
Okay. Besides Soul or Luca, which I know we just watched within the last 6 months, Jonas, what's your favorite Pixar movie that you remember?
Name some Pixar movies.
Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Incredibles.
Incredibles. I'll just go with that.
How about you, Lily? Do you have a concerted opinion on the matter? Just say brave.
Say, shouldn't it be Finding Nemo? They have fish in the background.
I was going to tell her, just say brave. It's a girl on a horse with a bow and arrow.
Sure. Yeah, Brave is actually a really good movie.
Hey, someone paying attention. Alexis, what's your favorite Pixar movies?
Easy, Ratatouille.
Really? How come Ratatouille?
I am a foodie. I love to cook. The designs of the kitchen and the food really got to me. I mean, I remember watching that and just thinking, like, they got the texture of scalding soup right. Oh, my God.
Yeah. That was one where if they didn't nail the aesthetic of cooking, the whole thing was going to fall. And that's kind of one of the things that jumps out about me about this one. It jumped out about Soul is for whoever's running the production side of that company, they always look at whatever the theme is and go, this theme has to be represented spot on. Like, if it's cooking, we really have to make that the star of this thing. In this case, it was this Italian village, and they just nail it every time. And Soul, it was the music. It was the jazz, and it's like incredible. Like, I don't know who they call. Even Inside Out, it was like, well, we're gonna do a movie about emotions, and it's like, I don't know how you nail the aesthetic of emotion since that's not a visual medium. But boy, man, Robert, they hit that out of the park.
Mm-hmm. A lot of focus groups. No, I don't mean that in the like generally pejorative sense that I have a focus groups normally. I mean, you get together a lot of people and you go, what does joy look like? What is the emotion? I hate this stupid, much as I hate those like thought exercises as a very logical person, like what does joy feel like? What does joy look like? And then you get a bunch of people together and they all kind of put something down, and then you kind of just amalgamate everything that you get. What's anger look like? Well, it's short. It's going to be red, a little bit of flame.
Very angry white people, but red. Got it. All right, so you want to get into the plot of this thing?
Yeah, sure. Let's. This movie focuses on the primary character of Luca. Shock of shocks, given the title. He is a young. They never actually give a name for these things. He is a young quasi-aquatic creature boy who lives under the sea, just off the coast of.
They're called sea monsters. That's what they're called.
Okay.
Throughout the whole thing. And yeah, I know I was waiting for like a proper name to drop, Mr. Lovecraft over here, but the fact is they just call them sea monsters.
Yeah, so he's a sea monster, lives under the sea, just off the coast of a small Italian village. And he is a little bit fed up with being a small town kid. He stumbles across his friend, Alberto.
What about Black Widow?
I said, I thought you couldn't figure out the name, so I said I think his name was Alfredo.
Close. That's in The
Alberto.
Godfather. It's Alberto.
This is going to be a long video.
Yeah.
Can I say though? I think the proper name, even though they don't say it, is Siren.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
For the sea monsters?
Yeah.
Good
Might
enough
be.
for me.
Anyway, he finds Alberto and he winds up going above the surface onto this island with him, and they explore human things. He's got a poster for a Vespa that he wants to go because a Vespa can take you anywhere, in theory. Nice product placement, by the way. His parents find out that he's been spending time on the surface and decide that he's on the wrong track, and the only way to get him back on the proper track is to send him off with Sacha Baron Cohen into the deep.
The deep blue sea.
What a waste of an actor. So I do like Sacha Baron Cohen, and he's a great voice actor. It's just like, wow, you used him just for that.
Yeah, that was a bit of an odd choice. He shows up twice, like once in the movie, and then he has like a mid-credit scene.
There was a mid-credit scene because I didn't watch the credits.
It's literally just him floating around in the sea. He eats some whale carcass, and he's talking to like one of the like Giuseppe, I think, the little fish that he was shepherding, that is the one that winds up going with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since he's blind, he thinks he's talking to Luca the whole time.
Yeah, it's a complete throwaway gag. It doesn't mean anything. And he decides he doesn't want to go to military school, so he runs away to be with Alberto. They decide that in order to be safe, they are going to have to leave not just this island, but they're going to get to the village. So they swim over, they go to the village, and it's very fortunate because the entire gag that goes on, the entire gimmick here, is when these sea monsters are dried, they look like humans. When they get wet, they look like sea monsters. So they go to the village. Yeah. So they go to the village. You can see this wonderfully on the visual here. They go to the village. They meet some people, including an obnoxious teenager, which is not at all descriptive because all teenagers are obnoxious. I say that as a former teenager, and I warn you that we'll become teenagers. You will be obnoxious. You can't help it.
I'm guessing you're talking to us.
I mean, us in the general sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Lilly and Jonas, you're screwed.
It's true. Again, every one of us. The main character they meet is Julia, who is a precocious child who wants to win the Porco Rosso Cup, which is just they call it an Italian triathlon, which in this case consists of swimming, biking, and eating pasta, which I got a kick out of. They need to find the money for the entrance fee. The kids, using their knowledge of the deep, are able to help the dad, who's a fisherman, collect more fish. To sell, they get into the race. Shenanigans ensue. The big thing here is that Luca and Alberto kind of grow apart. Luca still wants to be a bit of a kid, not very forward-thinking. Luca, as he learns more and more about the wider world, wants to learn more and more about the wider world. He wants to go to school. He wants to experience things. They all... this, again, leads to a bit of conflict as their desires start kind of diverging. Things go south. There's a bit of a fight between Alberto and Luca. I'm skipping over some stuff here that we can go over in detail if we're so inclined. Alberto gets revealed as a sea monster. Luca plays it off like he is not a sea monster. Julia finds out that he is one and says, "It's not safe for you here." She doesn't. It's a nice touch. She doesn't say, "You're a monster, get out of here." She goes, "I like you. You're still my friend, but boy, can you not stay here. This is not a safe place for you."
I was going to say, can we all do a sigh of relief that we didn't have to deal with the liar reveal trope?
Yes.
There's a lot of that in this film, and I also just watched the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, almost all of it, and so I might be sort of crossing my thoughts here, but I feel like between Luca and both of them, there were a lot of lazy writing tropes they actively ignored for the betterment of the film and our enjoyment.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you for that. Thank you for that to the writers. So he heads out. He meets up. He and Alberto kind of reconcile. Luca resolves to win the race to buy the Vespa because the prize money from this will buy them a crappy Vespa that they could then fix up and take on their tour of the world. During the race, Luca is revealed as a monster after it starts raining. Inconvenient that. But they've now spent enough time in the village that a couple of the people stick up for them, so they're not murdered outright. Luca goes off to school with Julia after saying a heartfelt goodbye to Alberto, who stays behind with Julia's father, who he's adopted as a father figure after his father abandoned him, and that's kind of his emotional arc.
Whose headcanon had him going to Hogwarts? This guy. I was convinced she was a wizard, Harry.
Mark,
Why?
skip the ad on the screen. We don't need to see more of MODOK.
I'm trying. I don't do ad blockers. Sorry.
You really should.
I really should.
So anyway, Luca heads off to adventure in the wider world with his new friend Julia. The sea monsters off the coast of Porco Rosso start developing a slightly more symbiotic relationship with the humans. And as summer sets on youth, as it always does, hopefully with everyone a little wiser going forward. Mark, you said this poked you in the feels a little bit, you being half Italian. So let me go to you first. You're the one with some of the stuff to unpack. So what got to you about this? What did you like? What didn't you like, etc.?
Just really quick, because I want to get in Jonas and Lily and Alexis into the discussion, because I don't have a tremendous amount of craft comments to say. It's a beautiful film. Where the personal connection is we're half Italian to 1% of another, depending on which of us you're talking to. I'm half Italian. And my grandmother, who I was very close to on the Italian side, was from Sicily. And they were, she spoke the way that they make the character speak in this. This is something you and I talked about off air, where clearly this is, an English movie for an English audience. But to get the aesthetic in there, to get the cultural aesthetic, they had them occasionally break into Italian. So, like Julia, I think that you said the name of the character was. At one point, she's like "aspetta," and I was like immediately went to my grandmother, who never said "wait" in English that I ever heard. It was always "aspetta." And my grandmother talked to me about like growing up being a farmer and. And like she had a vegetable garden out in the backyard in Massapequa, Long Island, and she would talk to me, and tell me stories from where she grew up and all of this stuff. And so that's what I was thinking about while I was watching this. And so there's that part of it. Plus, the movie is so much about friendship, right?
Yeah.
It's about friendship. It's about the Alberto and the processing of him being abandoned and what to do about that. So there was a lot there. I say this and then I'll take a break and let everyone else in. I have to give, and I'll plug your show here. Everyone loves a bad guy Pixar villains. I was listening back to that, and I don't think there's a bad Pixar villain in the bunch. I think the conversation was sometimes they're not villains so much as they are obstacles, but there's nobody that's poorly written. And what's great about a lot of the Pixar villains is, we're so much used to like the Thanos or the Steppenwolfs of the villainy world. It's nice to just get a small villain who all he wants to do is win a race. The villain in this thing, what's the kid's name again? Someone look for me real quick.
Ercole.
Arcole?
Ercole.
Okay.
He's also
Ercole.
Coca-Cola.
I hate to say it. I honestly, when I saw it pronounced or saw it written, I thought it was Urkel.
Good. That's what we're going with. So Urkel, he just wants to win the race and be the most popular kid in town, and he's a jerk for it. But that's it. That's all he wants. They don't even focus so much on we must kill. This isn't Beauty and the Beast, where once it's where the movie just takes this really ridiculous shift into we have to kill the beast. When they find out they're sea monsters, yeah, there's a little bit of that, but it's resolved so quickly. It almost it lessens the impact of it. But I think to the movie's betterment. The movie focuses on the stuff that I think is important. The bonds of friendship, becoming brave, finding your bravery, processing abandonment, achieving goals. These are all really positive things that this movie deals with really, really well. It has a lot of balls in the air, but it juggles them well. And the animation, and Alexis can speak to this more intelligently and specifically, the animation in this is phenomenal. So the stuff about the friendship, along with being, Italian and all of that, and this being a very Italian-looking movie, that's what got to me. So I'll call on him. Jonas, you first. Tell me all the things you liked about this movie.
I like how sometimes they can't figure out like what these things are. So like there was like this like pasta thing. There was like this bucket that you would use to make pasta.
The strainer.
Yeah. Then Porto was just like, this is a helmet.
Right. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of that gag in the movie. What else? You got anything else for us, Jonas?
Not worry.
Okay. How about you, Lily? What did you like about this movie?
I really liked when Luca was starting to really want to go to school. I thought that was really good.
When they were bonding over the textbooks?
Yes, but then when Alberto came in, I was like, no, you can't go to school. You're a sea monster. That kind of made me a little bit upset.
No, I actually felt bad for Alberto because it was being abandoned again.
Yep, that's a big part of it, Jonas. That's actually some really good insight, is that Alberto was trying to undercut Luca from going to school because he didn't want his friend to leave him again. How about you, Alexis? Give me your thoughts on the movie here.
Well, first of all, yes, it's a Pixar film. It is absolutely gorgeous. You know, we could talk about what we think are the worst Pixar movies, and yes, Cars 2 is definitely on the list. But can you guys honestly say Pixar has ever made an ugly movie?
No.
Yeah.
I would say the closest to, and it's not ugly, it's just bland, is maybe A Bug's Life.
Yeah, that's probably the closest they get.
I thought The Good Dinosaur was about as bland as they can get, but even then, I wouldn't call it ugly. Pixar animation is always just absolutely gorgeous, and watching this movie, it's so beautiful. You just want to sell your car and move to a small village on the Italian coast. You know, you want to go.
I wanted to do that anyway, but the irony of you saying that is we reviewed The Good Dinosaur, and it was the only positive thing we had to say about that movie. To us, it looked gorgeous. I think. I can't remember if it came out around the same time as Moana, but I remember thinking, like, The Good Dinosaur and Moana, how far we'd come with the look of animation and how crisp both Walt Disney and Pixar, crisp and pretty, they make their movies. So I'm surprised to hear you say that you thought, compared to A Bug's Life, which is early Pixar, that you thought The Good Dinosaur was bland looking. I mean, it's a shit movie, but it's not. I didn't think it was bland.
Well, either way, to each their own.
Sure.
But yeah, like I said, no, we're not going to argue that it was ugly because it's not. Like I said, even the worst Pixar films are still beautiful to look at. You know, like I said, we could talk about how bad Cars 2 was, but I think we can all agree that if you just watch it on mute and watch the scenes in their version of Tokyo and Italy, it's like, I still want to watch that. It's still gorgeous.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I did enjoy this movie. You definitely see the roots of La Luna in it. So the character of Massimo, Giulia's father, looks almost exactly like one of the characters from La Luna, and I kind of like that he was sort of repackaging his design. I love that they avoided, we were talking how they avoided a lot of the tropes. I am so grateful for that. I was so worried that this film was going to go down the road of so many cliches. It didn't. Really grateful for that.
Wait, are you saying something about this movie called Luna? The ad fit, the video they literally showed Luna.
Yeah, that was really good timing, actually.
Yeah.
It's almost like we planned it.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. Just like we try to time them, Mark. You know, we'll actually catch these ads.
I'm working on it. I'm paying attention.
I know. And can we also talk about how much of an inspiration this film took from Hayao Miyazaki films?
There's some really interesting inspiration that this film takes from Miyazaki for sure. That's fairly evident, especially if you've watched enough Miyazaki, and I have.
You and me both, Robert. I mean, the town is called Porco Rosso. Hold on. What's the town called here? Porto Rosco?
They call it Porto Rosso, which is, of course, a reference to the Miyazaki film Porco Rosso.
You got Julia, who was wearing the exact same clothes as one of the characters from Kiki's Delivery Service. You see a lot of various similar styles to Ponyo, I would say, in this. It looks very similar.
The stuff underwater, absolutely.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So, I just loved how much you could see Hayao Miyazaki's influence in this.
You can see a handful of other Italian filmmakers. The guy that Scorsese loves, Fellini.
Yeah.
There's some odes to his stuff in here. You get a lot of reference, not just references, but inspiration from other coming of age stories. I mean, Stand By Me being a very obvious one.
Hmm.
So there's a lot. The inspirations for this particular film are very much worn on its sleeve. As we get the first instance of Leo trying to eat the headset.
She's upset because Eddie stole her chew, and since he's the alpha, she's basically not going to, go up to him and steal it back. She's basically going, "Mom, make him give it back." Does my arm taste good?
Seems legit.
All right, so you said there was a lot of inspirations that wore on its sleeve. Go through that real quick.
I went through a bunch of those. The other thing I really liked about this movie, I love the imagination sequences. I love the dream sequences when they start doing stuff that is very clearly not happening.
Mm-hmm.
When Luca's learning about the solar system and he's kind of running on the rings of Saturn, or he's on a Da Vinci flying machine taking a tour of Rome. There's some really great stuff in it. This movie really, anything in this genre has to do this, and it is the line they have to walk. This movie captures the essence of those kind of like lazy childhood summers, and what that feels like. Not just what it looks like, but to capture the emotion that you go through when you're in that position.
It's so funny because we talk going through listening to the Everybody Loves a Bad Guy on Disney villains. You and I had this really long conversation about how Disney struggles with marketing to boys, and how Pixar, along with Marvel, I'm not even going to count Star Wars because that doesn't market to anyone anymore. No, I take that back. It markets to very angry middle-aged men. Anyway,
it markets only to other Star Wars fans, and then only intermittently.
But Pixar really picked up the flag and ran with it in terms of marketing to boys. Because I was watching this and I was like, yeah, you said the lazy summers. This is very much like boys hanging out. They eventually have to get to a plot and do stuff, but yeah, it's very much like this is a movie for boys about boys doing stuff and and being boys. And I hate to sound redundant, but it's such a rare thing in today's culture, especially entertainment culture.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned totally different subject matter, but you kind of lamented the loss of the entire subgenre of horny teenage boy movies.
Yes, on the Porky's trilogy on our long road to ruin.
Plug.
Thank you.
Something similar again? Genres of film kind of come and go in and out of vogue. The coming of age story is one that's really kind of fallen out of favor over the last handful of years.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a great return to form for that. I mean, again, Stand By Me is kind of one of the obvious examples, but it's not the only one by any stretch of the imagination. And you just don't see a whole lot of them these days. And they're great movies when they're done properly. So, and again, part of it is it's a hard thing to do. Pulling off that aesthetic, pulling off that emotional kind of connection to what it felt like to be, an early teen in the summer, and just the freedom and the world being at your fingertips. It's a really hard thing to do right, and Luca does it with aplomb. You've got a jerk bully and his cronies, and he's a rather he's not a grand threatening villain. He's a jerk,
right?
And everyone knew those.
And that's what I'm saying before. I miss the small villain. I miss.
Yeah.
He has a goal. He has a position of power, so small as it is in the small world, and he's doesn't want to give it up, and that's that. That's it. That's all. That's all it is, and that's all it has to be.
Well, the villain of the film really is just the fear of being found out. The movie was smart not to make Urkel such a major antagonist. He's a thorn in the side, but having him as a major antagonist would have detracted from the fear that the boys are going through, trying to blend into this world and not get caught. So it would have been way too much.
Yeah. The atmosphere itself is more than enough of an obstacle to overcome. Jonas, and having the jerk around is just true to life.
Jonas, what did you think of the villain in this? The mean boy on the bike.
I hated him.
What made you hate him so much?
He's so much of a jerk.
What was the worst jerky thing he did in the movie?
servants, and
Yeah.
when
The
are you
servants?
okay?
They were goons, not servants.
Who cares? They're technically servants.
Sure.
And
You have
then
to pay
when
servants.
like the
Goons
bike
do it for free.
fell on him, then he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's not and saying it to the bike and not the actual person.
I didn't even pick that up. That was a good pickup, Jonas. Lily, A, getting framed. B, what did you think of the villain in this? Like, how much did you hate him?
I just didn't like how mean he was.
Like a scale to 1 to 10.
Okay.
Hey, Robert, by your definition between servants and goons, doesn't that make us Mark's goons?
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
it
you're
does.
totally my goons. But I like the,
I don't know.
more.
You can't have hired goons though. So there's a hired goons are more like one-off jobs. If you're attached to someone, maybe they're toadies. They're toadies, not goons. Toadies.
I don't know. They had hired goons in that one episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that's why I had to rephrase. He has toadies, not goons.
But what would that make you guys? Because I would say you're definitely higher than lackeys. Is henchmen too far? I mean,
We're not paid. We can't be henchmen.
That's what I'm saying.
Some henchmen aren't paid. Like henchmen, there's a whole scale for henchmen.
What if you guys were just flunkies? Does that work?
That's pretty close.
Okay. Not groupies, because you don't worship me.
Yeah.
but definitely flunkies. I think
somewhere between flunky and henchman, depending on some of that depending on our level of enthusiasm. If we're enthusiastic about the project, we're henchmen. If you're putting a gun to our head, we're flunkies.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to say then you're what do you call it? Sleigh dogs, just pulling the thing along. Oh God, let's go! Stop eating me. Anyway, you were saying, sir.
So again, I liked those. I got some good laughs out of this one. The cat constantly made me laugh.
Yeah, I was laughing hard at the cat.
Every time I saw the cat, I was like, the cat saw everything. The cat knows the secrets.
The cat was a very funny visual gag.
Yeah, I got some good laughs out of Luca's parents. First of all, Jim Gaffigan and Maya Rudolph is only to play the mother now, isn't she? That's like the only role she's had.
I had the same exact thought. I was like, wow, every casting director is like, we need a mom to do voice work. Call Maya Rudolph.
Exactly.
That's all she does now.
Yeah, no, I love Jim Gaffigan's stand-up. He is so funny, and I thought he did a really good job with this. And I thought they got some really good laughs, and I love just the way they're trying to find, to soak all the kids in the village, trying to figure out which
was a good gag.
Yeah, you get the bag where they're dropping water bullets, like, nope, not our son. Not, to the point that when they're offering cups of water to these kids who are biking the triathlon, they're like, you want a cup of water? They're like, no, we know what you do with the water.
I laughed hard. I laughed hard at the fountain bit.
Yeah. And even they are not one-dimensional. They're freaking out about, their son going to the surface, and they're an inch away from sending him to the Mariana Trench or whatever. But
it's hilarious because it's so far away from where they are. They're not actually in the ocean. They're in the Mediterranean Sea. There's a whole journey just to get to the actual ocean. So now think of trench life with Sacha Baron. That's one of my favorite gags, actually. I had two really good gags out of this. The cat was kind of a nice running one. When they're trying to annoy Ercole at the they're trying to get him to give their money back after he steals it from them when they're trying to register, and they can't insult him, but they're trying, and he's just brushing it all off. And then Luca calls him a catfish, and everyone goes, "Wait, what's a catfish?" He says, "Yeah, it's a bottom feeder, with a couple of sad whiskers." And the teenage kid trying to grow a mustache for the first time is now highly offended by this.
Hey, what else you got, Robert? Because if not, there's one more question I want to ask everybody, and then let's move on to the next thing.
Okay, last thing. Again, this was just another silly gag. When they walk past the parents walk past a movie poster for a knockoff of like Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the creature that they've drawn on again, we're talking like 60s, 70s Italy. So the creature that is drawn for the poster looks almost exactly like Sacha Baron Cohen's character Ugo, and Jim Gaffigan's character stops and goes, "Ugo." Just he sees this caricature of a deep sea monster, and it looks exactly like his brother. It made me laugh.
So thinking back to some of our reviews from this year, Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
And Tom and Jerry, Ryan the Last Dragon. I think if this long form discussion podcast that we've got going here has any value at all, is we are definitely able to see the flaws in things that other people either tend to ignore or don't care about because they're just looking for, a good time out, and they're just sort of passively watching film. Here's the problem that I have with a lot of Pixar, and that is there's almost nothing bad to point out. Like, it comes very naturally to us to find the bad in these films and point them out to people who are like, I just wanted to watch a movie. But
yeah,
here,
we're soul deprived cynics.
Film critics.
Tomato.
You're gonna say those are synonyms at this point.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's so hard to find, even among quibbles, it's very hard to find anything structurally wrong with the movie, anything that's wrong with the craft. But I mean, let's take a shot at it just to say we did. Start with Jonas and Lily. Jonas first. Jonas, was there anything you didn't like about this movie or anything you thought was wrong with it?
I didn't like how Alfredo, however you pronounce it.
Fredo's from The Godfather.
Actually, Alfredo was Linguini's first name in Ratatouille. So wrong Pixar film, Jonas.
And Alfredo is a sauce. It's a very heavy cream cheese based sauce. It's delicious, but
all right. So what was wrong with rigatoni? Go.
So I didn't like how Luca also had to leave for school, leaving behind Alfredo. Alberto.
That just made you sad, then. But nothing wrong with the movie. It was just a sad part of it for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had to hug you. You were also sad.
Yeah. Yes, I was very sad. Lily, just not necessarily what you didn't like, but did you think there was anything sort of weird about the movie or wrong or something that didn't make any sense to you? You can say no if it was perfect and more perfect than Ryan the Last Dragon.
Okay, I did. The things that made me kind of cringe were the scenes where Alberto was teaching Luca how to ignore the Bruno in his head, and then when they were actually in the town and they ran into two people, and they said,
"What's wrong with you, stupido?"
Yes, I was just like, why?
Yeah, I would agree with you. There was some kind of cringe movie moments there. Alexis, anything in terms of craft that didn't work for you?
I can't really think of anything. Much like Robert, I was kind of hoping that they had another term for these creatures besides sea monsters. Just because it's a very generic term.
Let her go. Go ahead.
Sorry, silence.
No, I was trying to shush my son and let you go.
It's a very generic term, and when I think sea monsters, I'm thinking more like giant krakens kind of thing.
Yeah.
When I do not think of these adorable little fish people as sea monsters.
I swear to God, I thought they were to be called sea monkeys. That's probably
we're close.
That's probably a trademark issue, but sea monkeys.
But yeah, for the most part, I really can't think of any flaws on this. Like I said, I'm not going to say this is now my new favorite Pixar film, but I cannot think of anything really bad about this movie.
So, Robert, same question asked differently, and this is going to be the last point before we talk about the music. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, say no more. And that is, you and I were talking, this was mid-tier Pixar, and I think it's upper mid-tier, but definitely mid-tier Pixar. What do you think, if you get into sort of the granular detail in 50 words or less, what separates this from top-tier Pixar for you?
Oh, separates from top tier.
Toy Story 3 probably being right at the peak.
I think there's a couple of things. One is it's almost too small a cast. It's almost too intimate. One of the things about some of the really, I shouldn't say it's too intimate. That's the wrong word. It's the wrong combination of bigger ensemble or very, very character focused. Soul is about 2 characters. That's it. Toy Story is about the entire it's about Woody and Buzz primarily, but it's about the group. It's not just about them. Here we're about,
especially as it got to Toy Story 3.
Yeah, it's more than just about any one of the characters. It's about all of them. It's the collective. Here, this is primarily about 3 characters, but so much of what makes them work is tied up, at least tangentially, in what's going on around them, that it makes it difficult to really kind of sink your teeth into them. Luca's bit here is he's starting to push boundaries. He wants to see the wider world. And then, one minor instance of, going to the surface under very safe circumstances to an uninhabited crop of rock with another sea monster. And his parents are like, nope, the deep. Out you, yoink, you go. It seems that was just a touch forced.
Yeah, it was as you brought that up. Now that you're mentioning it, I was like, yeah, that does seem a bit forced.
Just a touch. The general conflict is sound. The reaction a little. Again, it's just a bit much.
Yeah, it was very much like we just got to get him to the mall already. So whatever, just write it in there.
Yeah, there's some of the stuff in the village. They're doing the training is a little bit unfocused, and I don't know how you've. This is the hardest of lines to walk. I don't know how you blend, the whimsy of summer and youth with
Rocky.
Narrative interest. That's a hard line, man. They aired on the side that kept the aesthetic and the emotional feel that they wanted. So I'm not. Again, this is a very, very, very tiny nitpick if I'm going to nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit, and if part of what you're going to go for here, if Alberto's big arc is finding a father figure, which is fine, I'm not objecting to this. Mm-hmm. I almost felt you needed just a little bit more between those 2 characters, because you get some, and it's enough to hint that, okay, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
And then we just miss like half a step to get to the end point of, I'm going to stay here and be with him and help him around the village while you go off.
I agree with you. It's also the minorest of minor quibbles, because they do show it. They do show them kind of bonding over the pasta, and the character's not verbose in any kind of way. He's a very quiet character, the dad is. So you get enough. I think you get enough of Alberto wanting to find a father figure, find a place of belonging, find a family, and the father twisting pasta to go, okay, this is fine the way it resolves. It would not have hurt to have made it a stronger relationship, give them a little bit more scenes, and the fishing, like he points like there's the fish, and the fisherman comes up with big fish, and they're like, oh, we're useful to each other. Again, it's there. It would have been nice if it was a little bit stronger, but I don't think the quality of the film necessarily suffers for it.
Oh, not at all. I think the only other thing, and again, I don't know if this movie needed another 10 minutes and you flesh out some of the other stuff. Like, we spend more time with, the mother, with Luca's parents, fleshing them out a little bit. So I don't know if it needs another 10 minutes added on to flesh this stuff out, or you need
like Finding Nemo kind of a thing where there's a reason Albert Brooks is the way he is.
A little bit, yeah. Or you need to cut back 5 minutes and tighten up some of the stuff in the middle. I don't know. Again, that's a tough thing that's a very tough editorial line to walk. But since I'm being incredibly nitpicky and granular, that's where I'm landing on that.
It's an hour and 40 minutes. I would have said maybe cut a gag in the middle somewhere. Maybe trim some things down by a few minutes a piece to make room for a few minutes of why mom is nuts.
Well, again, either that or you just add another 5 minutes of backstory with them. She talks with her mom about how the grandmother's husband was lost to the surface or something. I mean, I don't know. Again, there's things you can do here.
Right.
There's a number of directions you can take it.
You can't cut the scene with Stanley Tucci carrying a bomb, though.
First of all, you absolutely could cut that down. Did not need 10 minutes of that.
I think we missed something here.
That's a different movie.
Different gag. Don't worry about it. That came from our discussion of Transformers: Age of Extinction when I said there's 20 minutes of this movie you could cut out and make this whole thing better, and Mark said prove it, and I went okay, scene A, scene B, scene C, scene D.
9 hours later, we were still talking about it.
And he then went, I should never have challenged you on the minutia of this, and he has since learned that's not a fight you can win with me.
Yeah, well, we also didn't agree. He was cutting babies I wanted to hang on to. Real quick thought about the music as I do some playing around with my computer. What did we all think of the music in the movie, starting with you, Alexis?
Oh, it was great. I love the classic Italian jazz that they used from so many of the scenes. It fit the design of the town so well.
Real quick, Jonas and Lily. Jonas first. What did you think of? Did you notice the music at all in the movie? Did you like the music? Did you just go?
Not really, but in the trailer, the music was amazing. Like in the trailer, but I didn't really pay attention to the trailer in the actual movie.
Was the music dramatically different from the trailer to you, Jonas?
No.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't paying attention to the music in the actual movie.
Gotcha. What about you, Lily? What did you think of the music in the movie?
It was good. I have no other words.
Okay, Robert.
Much like Alexis, I really I enjoyed a lot of it. They did a great. This is almost, and I mean this as a compliment. There's segments of this that are almost like video game music, that are designed to lull you into feeling the location more than conveying anything else. And again, I mean that as a compliment. You know, any good location in a video game needs a soundtrack that is welcoming, that makes you feel that place. And they hit that on the head. They nailed that.
There was video game music. I really should have been paying attention to the music.
It's all right. Good music blends into the background and just makes you feel things more than sticks in your head unless you're really paying attention.
Oh.
According to this on Wikipedia, they actually wanted Ennio Morricone to compose a soundtrack. He passed before they could talk to him. Yeah, can you imagine how this would have been with a Morricone soundtrack?
Morricone's work is phenomenal. He's right up there with John Williams and Hans Zimmer. Like, you couldn't have done better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anyone is interested in checking out the soundtrack, go ahead and click the link in the description of this podcast or in this video, and you can sign up for a free 30 days of AmazonMusic.com. AmazonMusic.com allows you to stream all the digital music like you see here on the screen, or for those of you listening, they've got just millions upon millions of albums uploaded to their service. You can stream all you want for a low monthly fee, and you get the first month free on us here at the Radulich and Broadcasting Network and W2M. So click the link, fill out the information, get your free 30 days of Amazon Music by clicking, I'll give you the link here, getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network. That's getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network to get your free 30 days of Amazon Music on us.
Well,
all right.
Loosely related to that, I think they're doing a special promo at the moment for Prime Day that's giving more than the usual 30 days. I think we're up to like 60 or 90 at the moment.
My gosh, 3 months of free streaming music. I don't even know what to do with myself. I don't know if I'd leave the house. I definitely wouldn't put on pants.
You never put on pants.
That's a lie. I have pants on right now. And with that, let's get into the news.
And now, I'm up at News Flash.
I know.
All right. So our news story is Pixar staffers reportedly frustrated with decision to send movies straight to Disney Plus. This was an article that came out at the end of April, a little late here, but I wanted to talk about this and to sort of weave it into the discussion of Luca. The article goes like this: Pixar staffers are reportedly frustrated and scratching their heads with Disney's decision to send studio movies straight to Disney Plus. The news comes by way of Insider, which I wanted to read directly, but you have to pay for it, and that's a big no. Reports that some Pixar employees are frustrated that movies they've worked on being sent straight to Disney Plus with no theatrical release, while others wonder how these decisions will affect the future of the company. The tide began to turn when Disney broke its traditional 90-day theatrical release window with Pixar's Onward in 2020 when it was released digitally on Disney Plus. In all fairness to that decision, that was right at the beginning of the lockdown. Like, not even the pandemic. The pandemic started, at least for the United States, started in January. But the world ended and shut down for a couple of months at the end of March, right as Onward had come out. So at that point, all the studios and like everybody else was like, well, let's figure out how people can not, go crazy at home. But yeah, and then Soul, we were talking about this earlier, Robert. Soul was the theater still hadn't opened up yet in big markets like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. We were coming out of it, but it was a very like half the country, half the world was coming out of lockdown. The other one wasn't. Soul
was November of last year, right? Right about then.
Yeah, it was a holiday film.
It moved to Christmas.
Yeah, so almost nothing was open at that particular point. I mean, places were starting, but they wanted that out in time for award season for obvious reasons. I mean, it won.
Right.
Again,
as it should. It was amazing.
It was hands down the best animated feature of 2020.
Right.
So it wasn't even close.
The decision to do what they did with Onward, with the going to digital as quick as they did, and then putting Soul directly on Disney Plus with no premium, those two decisions made sense. When they put this one on there, I think is when it didn't make sense to me, and certainly it was the third one in a row, whether there was context to the decision or not, that drove the animators crazy, and that's what this article is about. The cause, we already just went into all that. As Insider's report notes, Soul was the first Pixar movie to move the studio's 26-year history to not debut on the silver screen. According to Insider sources, Pixar Chief Creative Officer Pete Docter was disappointed to learn that Soul would have no theatrical run. The disappointment was softened by the fact that Disney was ecstatic by how well the movie performed on Disney Plus. Insider reports that most at Pixar understood the necessity beyond the Soul decision. The same global pandemic still happening today was also happening last December after all. But that those at the studio had hoped the decision that would be a one-time thing. It wasn't, however, because it was announced that Luca would release exclusively on Disney Plus for free, no less, unlike Disney's Mulan. We don't want to be a title just on Disney Plus, one Pixar staffer told Insider. Here's the good stuff. These movies are crafted for the big screen. We want you to watch these movies with no distractions, no looking at your phones. Another Pixar employee that spoke to Insider pondered what it meant that Luca wouldn't have the premium price tag next to it that other Disney Plus releases like Mulan did. They said it's hard to grasp if that makes Luca lesser. Beyond the studio disappointment and frustration expressed to Insider by Pixar staffers, those within the studio wondered what these straight-to-Disney Plus decisions mean for the studio's financial future. A veteran staffer at Pixar told Insider that everyone is worried about keeping their jobs if our films aren't seen by Disney as financially successful. If these movies aren't having $1 billion theatrical runs, Toy Story, Finding Dory, etc., does that hurt the company? You wonder that, one Pixar animator told Insider.
That's a very fair fear, especially in the contemporary cinematic landscape where everyone wants to do umpteen sequels, prequels, reboots, and reimaginings in a desperate bid to not have to take any sort of financial risk in that particular regard.
Not to mention making the films popular enough for the giant marketing management and all of the tie-ins for toys, T-shirts, appearance by the characters at the theme parks. Stop trying to eat the microphone.
Wait, Dad?
Yes.
Is this the thing you said me and Lily could leave?
Yeah. What? Yep. If you want to bugger out, go ahead and you can take off. Say bye to everybody.
Bye.
Good seeing you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Anyway, so I stopped sharing the screen because that's really the bulk of the article, but I did want to have a quick roundtable discussion about this because I thought it was interesting. I think there's a discussion to be had over what were the expectations of Luca under normal circumstances. When you think about, and I don't have it up in front of me, maybe one of you guys can look real quick, but I was under the impression that the sequels to movies that were widely regarded, your Toy Stories, your Finding Nemo / Dory, Incredibles, those made $1 billion. The stuff that has no previous IP, especially if it was a niche topic, I don't think do nearly as well. They don't do badly. I'm not saying, I don't think Pixar has made a movie that, other than The Good Dinosaur, that, and maybe Brave, that like didn't make money, or didn't make twice their budget at the very least. So a movie like Luca, marketing to boys, very niche, very small story, no previous IP, nothing about it that speaks to a broad general audience other than it's a family animated movie made by a successful Disney studio. I don't think it's a $1 billion movie. I said the same thing about Soul. I think Soul was extremely niche, and that if had it been released in theaters, it would have done mid financial range. It would not have, it would have maybe hit a double or a triple. Certainly would have hit a home run. So
I think Soul would have done quite well in theaters. Again, I'm not saying billion, but remember that Coco. Well, to your point, Coco from 2017 made $800 million, and that was not attached to any other particular Toy Story issue, any other Pixar film. It was just, hey, here's Coco. The Incredibles 2 did a lot.
Hang on, without getting into sort of the very niche, granular cultural issues between Soul and Coco, read between the lines. I think Coco had a more broader appeal than Soul did, and I think it spoke to a much larger global audience.
I could see that probably because the main character was a kid as opposed to Soul, where the main character was an adult. Movies with children at a younger audiences want to see younger main characters. So when you have a film with a younger main character, it's going to attract a wider demographic.
Well, the other thing, and this is truer of Soul than of other Pixar films. A lot of Pixar stuff is very is made for children, but with a lot of stuff that adults can enjoy. Soul was an adult film. I don't mean that in the obvious way that it sounds.
Yeah.
Go sit in the corner, R. Crumb. You're not welcome.
He's been reconnecting with Rob Black. Of course I was going to make that particular reference.
Soul reconnected with me. I didn't reconnect with him.
Point being, Soul is a movie for adults that is accessible to children, but that is a grown-up movie, not a kids movie.
Yeah.
Coco's a bit more Coco a bit more straddles the line about being a kids movie with a bunch of stuff that adults can key into and react to.
Right, which I think is where Luca sits, but I still think you look at Coco.
That's the weird thing about coming of age movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
They are ostensibly for the age group that they're kind of showing, but the people that it resonates with are the older generation.
Sure, I think that was just demonstrated by the first part of this podcast. I mean, if you look at how I reacted as a 45-year-old man to Luca versus how my kids reacted, and they were 7 and 10. They watch a lot of movies, and we talk about it, and I ask them questions, and they're able to think about these things to one level or another, to their age group. But I mean, they liked it, they watched it. I'm the one bawling on the couch, like, and they're having to come and hug me. It speaks to a 45-year-old man the way differently than it's going to speak to elementary school age children.
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't think any of us can identify with, entering a Vespa race as a child, but we've all had our coming of age summers, and this movie brings us back to that.
So the question remaining on the table is, to the point that the Pixar people are making, hey, some of our movies make $1 billion. If we don't let them into theaters, the studio isn't going to survive. If we can't get our movies into movie theaters, we're eventually just going to get, I mean, if you look at what Disney's already done with their Fox purchase, where there was redundancy, they closed those parts of the studios down. I think a lot of the independent Fox stuff got, and some of the animated studios that weren't DreamWorks specific, I think it was, not DreamWorks, Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
Yeah. All got absorbed by Disney proper.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Blue Sky's gone now.
I think Blue Sky had gone before, Blue Sky was very obviously on the way out before that particular merger. I mean, when was the last time Blue Sky released something that wasn't another Ice Age movie?
Well, the
Blue
other thing
Sky,
is,
Blue Sky was included in the Fox purchase, but rather than giving new work to Blue Sky, Disney basically liquidated it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk on the animation boards about a lot of animators who were now out of work because they thought that they were going to get jobs now at Disney. No. Disney basically said, we're liquidating, we're selling the properties, we're selling all the supplies, and you all get to go to the unemployment line. And I'm sorry, I hate it, but that is kind of the way a lot of businesses work, especially mega multi-million corporations.
Oh, yeah, you start working at that level, people. Anytime there's a merger, a bunch of people are going to lose their jobs. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, not saying it's right. Hate it when it happens, but that's just kind of the de facto way it happens.
There's an animated movie coming out this year that was going to be the first that was made by Studio X. I don't remember the name of it, but it was going to be distributed by Fox, and it's still going to be distributed by Disney/Fox, but that deal has now been terminated, and I think they're going to get distributed in future films by, I want to say it was Warner Brothers is what I read, if I remember correctly. But that was another example of, another animated studio deal gone down because of the Disney purchase of Fox and the absorbing of all these different little studios within it. So getting back to the Pixar thing, I can see where there might be some writing on the wall that if this doesn't change, if I think the next one is Turning Red. Like, there are no more Pixar movies for the rest of the year. The next animated Disney feature is Encanto, and that's Thanksgiving. And then Turning Red is next March, and that's Pixar. I mean, I think from everything I've read, there's no canary in the coal mine here. Unless there's another major pandemic like there was last year, Turning Red's going to be in theaters. But
knock on wood.
Yeah.
The Delta variant is coming for us, Mark.
Yeah, that's actually one of the important things to remember. I'm looking at the marketing and release here. The decision to basically cancel the theatrical release was made in March of this year, of 2021. Mm-hmm. And while we were on a little bit more on the rebound, the vaccine was not as prominent as it is now. We are starting to open back up, but I think Disney was playing it on the safe side of we can't take the chance of whether or not this vaccine is going to work.
Yeah, I totally see that argument. But if you look at Black Widow, Cruella, and Jungle Cruise, all got premium releases.
Jungle Cruise hasn't come out yet.
It's going to. It's split. It's going to be in theaters and the $30 price tag on Disney Plus if you would rather do it that way.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Black Widow, Jungle Cruise, and Cruella all got slated for premium premium day and date and theatrical release. And then Luca was like, and that's going straight to Disney Plus, no extra fee. And I think that's the other thing they're pissed about is like, why aren't you charging people for this premium content? Are we not premium content? What does that say about us? We spent the first 40 minutes of this podcast saying, you guys basically make perfect movies.
Pretty much.
And Disney's reaction to it is, yeah, but so what?
I think we can all agree that Luca was better than the last few movies on premium content. I'll even say it was better than Raya and the Last Dragon. And I liked Raya and the Last Dragon, but Luca was far better. I
mean, just thinking about our review of it, there was not not that this one was forced, but I didn't have to say, well, what didn't you like about the movie, just so we can have a discussion about it. We came with that. We were ready for what's wrong with Raya.
Yeah, and then I had to listen to you talk about various pop music for 20 minutes.
I can see the trauma in your eyes.
That's just from years of working with you, Mark.
Mark looking up and trying to pronounce the names of Southeast Asian pop groups. Just
does it give you the giggles?
15 minutes of my life I will never get back.
Last roundtable thought about this. I mean, I think it's, like I said, I think the situation is largely resolved. But do you think, Robert, that even with Turning Red coming out in theaters, do you think that this is sort of a long road to the absorption of Pixar, or hey, they're kind of pissing and moaning about this, but it's a temporary thing, and it's there's nothing to worry about?
I think they've got some very valid points that they raise. I mean, the fact that both the two major releases from Pixar kind of got the shaft in this respect, whereas, here, $30 to watch Mulan, like, Just
Well, we all hated Mulan. So.
Well, that's an interesting question. Do you think that they did the calculation and they, kind of what I did? I did a mental calculation and I thought, okay, they pulled this from theaters because they think in a time where theater going is uncertain, even now, it's not going to be worth it to make enough money. We'd rather make it premium. We'd rather make it exclusive content on Disney Plus and see if we can get more subscribers. I'm wondering if they extrapolated from even that and don't charge them the extra $30. People aren't going to pay for it.
It must be something like that, but I think it's a lot of them going, you're willing to make people pay $30
For Cruella.
For crap like Cruella. Whereas here we have something that everyone put a lot of effort into, was made mostly from home. Not a joke. Like this movie set a record.
Yeah,
for how much was done from home by the animators.
I think there was a line after the Walt Disney sign that said "Made in our slippers."
Yeah, like they put a lot of that into that. So if we're putting a lot of effort and love into this, and we're not seeing a commitment or the support from the studio that's distributing our work, what does that say? I think it's a valid thing to bring up. I was surprised I wasn't surprised with Soul, the state of everything being what it was.
Sure.
I was surprised with this that they didn't, tack on the $30 because, I mean, one, it would be worth it objectively, I think, all things considered.
I'll tell you what I read it as a slight, and I didn't work on this. This is no skin on my nose, but I looked at that and went, okay, Marvel is premium content. Walt Disney World Pictures is premium content. Walt Disney World Pictures in Cruella, premium content. Pixar, who cares?
Yeah, that's very much just kind of coming around there. Now, I can see where they felt that. That seems to be it was a little bit of the vibe that was kind of given off.
Which is strange because Pixar has made, I would say, majority of the best movies that Disney has had in the last 20 years.
Hands down.
Here's the one thing I'll say. It's going to be my last thing. And then, Alexis, if you have a final comment on this, great. If not, then we'll just move on to the next bit. Raya and the Last Dragon comes out in March, and they don't want to keep delaying things. They want to continue with the layout as it was because, they got to start making some money somewhere. But March and June are two completely different places in the pandemic in time. And so I think in some cases, lockdown's still happening. In some cases, movie theaters hadn't opened up yet. I think they figured, even with Raya being day and date in theaters and premium, they figured people are still home. People still have nowhere to go or can't go out, maybe depending on where you live. I bet we can squeeze $30 out of people for this garbage product. They probably didn't call it garbage, but I am.
Garbage is a little bit of a stretch, but
they probably thought we can probably squeeze $30 out of people in the last death throes of what's going on in the world. By June, those same people can leave their house, and so they're not gonna pay the same $30. That's just my. I'll let you respond to that, Robert, and then Alexis, and then we'll get out of here. That's my thought, at least.
I think that's fair. I mean, most of the mask mandates. I mean, where I live, the governor rescinded it not that long ago.
Well, you live in a Republican state too, and oh, that's right, I have that reversed. Yes, you live in a Republican state, like I do in Florida, where they're burning the masks and the books.
We all live in Republican states.
And they're burning the masks and the books in your state too?
It's Missouri. They've been burning the books for far too long. It just got worse when Hawley got in charge.
So again, that got rescinded. Not that long ago, actually. I want to say start of this month, maybe. So less than 3 weeks. Any individual business can still mandate it, of course, but the government sanctions are still are gone. Same
thing in Florida. DeSantis was like mask, and I think then Grady Dudge shot one 1,000 times until he ran out of bullets. But individually, if you walk in and they tell you have to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask.
Yeah, and there are still people in some places that choose to wear them. And I'm not here to tell I'm not here to tell anyone how to live their life in that respect.
Shit, even without a mandate, people in Japan wear them. According to Melissa, that's just part of the culture.
Yeah.
There. So I mean,
if you're sick in Japan, you wear the mask to stop from spreading it.
Yeah.
The only place I've seen So the only place I've seen so far that actually says masks still required is the post office. But every place else says mask required unless you're fully vaccinated. But to be honest, I still wear my mask when I'm going out into larger groups just because, again, I live in Missouri and I saw the amount of people who said they weren't going to get vaccinated and they didn't want to wear the mask. And I know just how many of them would say, oh, yeah, I've been vaccinated. Yeah, I've got the card somewhere. It's like, no, I do not trust you people. Mask
Scouts honor. Yeah. All right. I think we're good. Everyone good?
Scouts 3 fingers, Mark. Boy Scouts are 3 fingers.
I'll say that. No, that's Mark Scouts.
There we go.
I was an inch away from doing that, but I was like, no, I'm going to keep it clean. I'm not going to do that.
Cub Scouts are 2, Boy Scouts are 3.
Mark is 1.
All right, folks. Here's
Live long and prosper.
Video. It's great. All right, here it is. The critical review.
Are you ready? I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
The critical review is brought to you by Grammarly. Grammarly's AI products help people write more effectively. Really got to get used to writing this down before I start talking.
We actually had a Grammarly ad pop up during one of the YouTube ad rails.
I saw that.
I saw. Yes, it helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes, while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M network to download Grammarly for free. All righty. So 89% critic score and 87% audience score. So about the same. Everyone was like, yeah, it was good. Cool. But let's see which reviewers didn't quite get it.
Look, right off the top, there's a slime.
There's always one or two.
Brian Viner of Daily Mail UK. There is some whimsical charm in all this, but the whimsy too often feels forced. The characters don't engage enough. What? And the animation rarely reaches Pixar's usual stratospheric heights or indeed underwater depths.
I'm sorry this wasn't as gorgeous as Finding Nemo.
Yeah, okay, we're not dealing with, the photorealism that was done in The Last Dinosaur, but get bent.
You mean The Good Dinosaur?
Good Dinosaur, yeah, not last. So that would be an entirely different movie, but also probably a good one.
Now say it probably would have been a lot better.
Andrew Graham of the Detroit News, top critic. From any other company, Luca would be underwhelming and easily forgettable.
Oh, get bent.
Coming from Pixar, however, long the gold standard in animation, it's a disappointment. Another sign the studio stamp is not what it once was. Toss this one back in the water.
Yeah, get bent, buddy. From any other studio, this would be the best thing they release all year.
That sounds like my review when I covered Cars 2. I said flat out it would have been okay if it was any other film, but when you hold it up to Pixar's line, it was like, this is just a horrible lemon.
I was going to say, Pixar's the only animated studio I can think of that has any kind of gravitas to their films. Like
only American one, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Of the major American studios, like the second best, most successful animated studio was DreamWorks. And there's such a broad appeal, such mainstream of the moment, like all the stuff you guys complain about with Tom and Jerry, like that's DreamWorks all over.
Oh yeah,
100%. We suffered through Shark's Tale. We know. Yeah.
I mean, at some point, I want to do Shrek on A Long Road to Ruin because I think it's worth talking about.
Shrek is nothing but pop culture references from the early from like that period of time. That's
awful.
Awful.
Kind of why I wanted to talk about it, like because Shrek is one of their most successful ones. It's beloved, but boy, is there a lot wrong with it.
It's
kind of funny.
Idiots.
Shrek was actually, I think we're at like the 20th or 25th anniversary of Shrek.
Yeah. I think the first one was just in theaters again.
Yeah, they were playing it at the Vintage Stock when I went there to buy comic books the other day. And I was talking with the cashier about it and how it's like that was one of the first movies to really first animated films to really experiment with this riding the zeitgeist formula.
And compared to Sony and compared to whatever the studio does their stuff for Sony and what was once Blue Sky, DreamWorks is practically Pixar. Like, the question was asked, are we reviewing Hotel Transylvania 4? And I said, not unless I'm held at gunpoint.
Thank you.
And then there's the Addams Family, too. I think my kids saw the Addams Family, the animated one, when that came out. I'm certainly not going to review the second one. I don't, this is...
Wait, is that a sequel? I thought this was another reboot by a different director.
No, okay, we're confusing different things, I think, because Rob Zombie's doing a live action The Munsters. This Addams Family...
I'm actually interested in that a little bit.
He's going to make Sherry Moon into the wife, and he's going to make her 10 times in a sexier dress, and I'm going to want to put a bullet in my head.
No, the Addams Family was an animated feature from a few years ago, and the sequel's coming out later this. Now it's, unless they move it again, it's actually coming out the same day as, I want to say, Dune, and
something like that. Yeah,
I want to. I think it's. I have it right here. Now fucking October 1st, Dune, Hotel Transylvania 4, and the Addams Family 2.
Well, one of those is a quality movie.
One of them. Moving on.
Things is not like the other one.
To be fair, we're reviewing the good one.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, even if we weren't, though, like, I tend to not want to do the stuff from the lesser studios because, I mean, why put you guys through that? I will throw stuff sometimes on the schedule when it's in the Venn diagram of things I'm going to take my kids to and things I'm genuinely interested in talking about. And that's only Pixar. We might have done Peanuts and Hotel Transylvania a few years ago, Robert, because at the time we were just sort of like just talking about stuff to talk about it. And then after a while, the schedule got too crowded with everything else to not put things on that we really wanted to talk about or really fit in the rubric.
The Peanuts movie, if they did another one, I would still say we should do because you and I both had a great time with that.
We did, but I mean, I saw it because I took my daughter to it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even gone.
I think I would have seen it either way. I was curious enough to see how it played out.
I took my aunt to see the Peanuts movie. I enjoy it. I actually hate how it doesn't get a lot of respect and appeal because I thought that movie
is horribly I hate to say underappreciated because that speaks to too broad an audience. Like I'm speaking for the general public at that point. But that movie is better than its reputation.
Without
and better
question.
than the chatter that it gets by a long shot.
Yeah, I remember us giving it like a glowing review, which will be re-released.
Dude, you said you stood up. You said you stood up and cheered when Snoopy finally beat the Red Baron.
Something like that.
That's Tommy Dreamer pinning Raven. Like that's.
Yeah.
That's
James.
decades in the
Speaking of which, Robert, I am an inch away from asking you and Pat to start your own chat window when you guys start talking about fights. My phone keeps blowing up on Saturdays because of you two.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys are insisting in doing that in a network chat and not boogie nights, but moving on.
It just did. Next time it'll be somewhere else.
Take 3. James Baradinelli of Real Views top critic. It's generic and ordinary, and although it contains sufficient material to engage children, its ability to hold the attention of older viewers is less sure. 3 fucking adults disagree with you, sir. 3 of them.
At
right
least
on
3.
Here.
Our maturity in question, of course.
Fair.
Of course.
How do you get? Hang on. How do you get to generic when you talk about this movie? I mean, if the fact that you can easily identify the genre that it's going for makes it generic. Boy, do you have a limited view of. First of all, you don't understand what generic means, and boy, do you have a limited view of film in general, sir. That's not an appropriate criticism.
We said to the professional critic with the red star.
And nuts to him.
Every film, when you break it down, is of a generic genre. You can trace all of them back to that.
Yeah, that's. I would not call this generic by any stretch of the imagination.
Me neither.
We'll do a few more and then we'll call it a night. Evan Dossie of Midwest Film Journal. A surprisingly forgettable entry for the famed studio. Jesus Christ, why don't you save time, space, and Grammarly? Just make Toy Story 3 again.
They tried with Toy Story 4, and I wanted to kill people.
No, Toy Story 4 was not Toy Story 3. That was the problem.
That's true. That's true.
Norman Willner of Now Toronto. Luca is a delicate animated fantasy that seems afraid of its own metaphors.
What? Oh, God. How dare you not make the obvious racial metaphor and speak to my personal political alignment? You douchebag jackass. Go start your Substack that no one will subscribe to because you suck at film analysis.
I get the feeling that this guy saw Lindsay Ellis's video on The Little Mermaid and about how it's actually become an icon for the trans community right before he saw this.
John Word of Advocate of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Following Pixar's many high-achieving movies, Luca underachieves, its best moments negated by lengthy stretches of mediocrity.
Go to hell, Salieri.
Yeah, I mean, again, we all kind of landed on this as like slightly upper mid-tier Pixar, but it is certainly not their highest quality. I mean, that's not really. I don't think that's terribly disputable.
Again, everything can't be Toy Story 3.
I agree.
You're going to get a Ratatouille in there.
Hey, Ratatouille's awesome, and you know it.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but there's a lot of Pixar out there, and some of it's going to be in the middle. That's just the way physics works.
That's true.
George M. Thomas of Akron Beacon Journal. Pixar has such a strong track record as a studio that no one will begrudge it the rare miss. After Soul, it was fair to wonder how Pixar would top the Oscar winner. Well, it didn't.
Well, yeah, if you compare this to Soul, I mean,
that's a deeply unfair That's deeply unfair to compare this. Again, we compare it to other Pixar movies, not in the sense that we're trying to find problems with it, but more because it's just one of the things you do. Like, you rank the Marvel movies too, but a bunch of them are just very, very different from each other.
You rank the Marvel movies nonstop. It's an endless conversation that's everywhere. Sorry, TikTok. Sorry.
By the way, Robert, who was that who I just saw walking naked behind you?
I was not naked. That's my brother. He's just wearing a tan shirt.
Oh, if he's walking naked, do it again. We need the hits. That only works in a visual medium. Philip Sumlian of Time Out top critic. What Luca most conspicuously lacks is Pixar's penchant for throwing up a big tent for all ages. There's less for grown-ups in the studio's youngest skewing effort since the Cars franchise.
Ugh. Okay, do we have to keep saying the same argument over and over again?
We might, we might.
Yeah, there actually might be a bit of a point there. Him talking about this being the youngest skewing demographic for Pixar since Cars, and I'm trying to decide if I agree with that or not. Just as thinking back over their last handful of movies,
I don't know. I thought, in terms of like really juvenile, adolescent skewing movies, I think Brave kind of hits it. Like Brave.
Well, Brave and Onward are both movies that skew a little bit younger, like towards the more of the like mid to late teens. Luca is very much, it's about the end of childhood, so the the early teens, maybe like the preteen stuff. And this might be, when it comes to the subject matter, the youngest skewing that they've done since Cars. That might be a fair observation. I disagree entirely with the notion that there's nothing here for adults.
Mm-hmm.
These, again, coming-of-age stories actually resonate with adults more than with children, as there's ample evidence for that.
Yeah.
Of course. Doesn't hurt that they got two of the biggest and I would say best child actors working right now to play the two main characters, Jacob Tremblay and Jack Grazer. Tremblay was the kid who was in The Room with Brie Larson.
Okay.
And Grazer played Freddy in Shazam and played the germaphobe in the first It chapter.
Oh, that's cool. Kimberly Jones of Austin Chronicle, top critic. That darkness is tantalizing, a toe dip into subversive waters, but the filmmakers remain stubbornly incurious. You know, I'll
okay. Somebody take away this woman's thesaurus.
She's not using it properly.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, there's that, but inherent in the gobbledygook of that review, I think, is the point that in a lot of the Pixar movies, there's always this one moment in the movie where everything is the most darkest, most gloomiest, scariest, frighteningest ever. And they hinted at it was talking about taking him into the deep, and we never got to see the deep.
I think the closest this movie gets to that moment is when Luca points at the revealed Alberto and goes, "Sea monster." Like there's that moment, but they don't dwell in that space. 5 minutes later, he's back with Alberto and trying to figure out what's going on.
So I mean, in terms of menace and and tension and the kind of moments in a Pixar movie, again, I'm going to point to Toy Story, where the toys are descending into hell. We don't have a descending.
You can get
pretty much.
And I'm not saying every movie has to hit that pitch, but we don't have a descending into hell moment here. We really didn't have one with Soul either. Onward, he's fighting a dragon at the end, but
Soul gets it a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what did they want? A scene of Alberto tied up in a net and being, threatened with harpoons or something in the town square?
Again, I think an exploration of the deep. I think if maybe some editing here, and the mom isn't nearly as understanding and doesn't see him win a bike race. So they take him away and he goes to the deep, but then he has to escape the uncle and come back. And so we at least get to see it. Might have been in order, but I don't know how much of the film needs to be reworked in order to make that happen, or if it would have been worth it. Because now that it's being pointed out, I'm like, oh, that would have been fun. But it's not in there, and if people aren't thinking about it and talking about it the way you are, does anyone really miss it?
Like, it's a fun idea, but does the movie really have space for it? I mean, there's a famous bit from Steven Spielberg about Raiders of the Lost Ark. The original script for it was just too big.
Mm-hmm.
And half of the stunts and the set pieces from Temple of Doom were lifted from the script for Raiders. The raft down the river, the minecart chase, that was supposed to be in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he's correct. Like, you can't put everything in there. There's too much.
Not to mention, sorry, Mark, I actually disagree. I think sending Luca to the deep and then he escapes and goes back would have been hitting one of those tropes that we all agreed were grateful that they didn't go into. Frankly, I think it would have extended out and been too much of, I'm at rock bottom, I now know what I need to do. Again, I think it's too cliche.
Okay, I mean, it's a fair counter argument. Courtney Small of Cinema Access, young kids will eat up this film like a freshly dipped biscotti. For those of you watching the video, just saw me snort on screen for the first time. but adults will be left with a rather disappointing aftertaste. Just stop. Can we stop with the stupid reviews where this film is about food? All the food things. This film is about Italians. How many Italian references can I shove in there?
I gotta say, actually, part of me when I was first watching this film was wondering if people were going to be offended by all the Italian stereotypes. But the film was directed and written by an Italian who grew up in Italy, and half the voice cast is Italian. I went through the IMDb page with the exception of our 3 main leads and the parents. The rest are Italian actors.
Isn't Maya Rudolph? Isn't there some Italian in her heritage somewhere? I want to say I could be mistaken.
I don't know, but
no idea.
You just said the fact that Italians worked on an Italian film shouldn't upset people. May I direct you to a review of In the Heights that you were on?
Touche. But no, I'm saying I was waiting for somebody to complain. Eating pasta in an Italian triathlon. That's so xenophobic. It's like, it was directed by an Italian. He put that in there. Shut up.
Here's the other thing. Italians are very nearly on the brink of succumbing to the argument that you can't be racist or xenophobic or whatever against Italians. I don't know why they've reached that. Like, you can't do it like the Irish are the same way. The Irish were horribly discriminated against when they started immigrating to America, but in 2021, you actually are free to mock them. You can't be racist against the Italians, I guess, or the Irish either. I don't know. The whims of the mob on social media in that respect, I suppose, it makes no sense.
Well, maybe they just figured out, yeah, whatever. Hand us the pasta and the whiskey and say whatever the hell you want. We've got a good life.
Yeah, but that's not a hill worth dying on.
No.
Speaking of the whims of the internet, Chris Stuckman of ChrisStuckman.com.
You self-employed loser.
There it is. First time on camera. Woo!
Oh, but it's Stuckman. I have to do it for him because I hate him.
I like Stuckman. Actually, Robert, I think I've asked you this. Did you see his video on escaping the Jehovah's Witnesses?
I have not, actually.
It's really good.
I'm not seeing this leaving a lasting impact. I'm not seeing this leaving a lasting impact like most Pixar movies.
Hang on. I also might challenge his notion that most Pixar movies leave a lasting impact. The ones that do leave a huge footprint. But I think if we charted out each individual Pixar movie, like, what's the lasting impact of a bug's life on your emotional journey as a human being, right?
It's like, yeah, sorry, we've had Toy Story 3, Up, Soul, Coco.
I mean, Incredibles 2, while a very enjoyable movie experience, that doesn't leave a lasting. The first one actually kind of does, believe it or not. With the journey of Mr. Incredible as far as learning the value of his family and that he can't go back in time to relive his glory days, but that's fine because what he has is actually better. The sequel, not so much.
Okay, this is our last one, and it's a doozy, Robert.
Oh, boy.
Edward Douglas of The Weekend Warrior. Skip this and get your kids to watch a Fellini movie instead. Martin? Is that you? Martin
Okay,
Scorsese?
buddy. I feel like this guy hasn't even seen a Fellini movie. He just read Scorsese's essay.
He hasn't. Fellini is not a family director.
Hang on.
Yeah, like, no.
Hang on one second. I want you guys to finish tearing into that idiot, but you just spent a few minutes with my children reviewing a movie. Now imagine I got them to watch Fellini.
I'm trying to imagine your son sitting through a Fellini flick. That ain't happening.
No,
Yeah.
he's not. Your son is going to be beyond bored and not remember a damn thing about it.
Within 5 minutes, if that long, and I might be giving him some credit, he's going to be like, Can I get my Switch? Sit down and make a watch a Fellini movie at gunpoint, maybe.
Jonas, tell us about the scene in 8.5 where the director imagines all the women in his life as servants in a harem and what that means.
I have confused feelings, says my son, who's 7.
You
I
have
don't know,
confused feelings, says you, who is in your 40s.
Yeah, that's not Fellini's not a director that you show. You moron. Like, you read Scorsese's essay and then you read the influences for this particular director. Like, yeah, I drew inspiration from some of Fellini's filmography, and you said, hey, why don't you just make your kids watch this? No, moron.
And that's our wrap up of Luca, brought to you by the wonderful studio that is Pixar. Later on in the evening, another show will drop today. Myself and Ronnie Adams will be reviewing Sweet Tooth, Volume 1, Out of the Deep Woods by Jeff Lemire. It's the comic book that was adapted into the show on Netflix, Sweet Tooth, which we'll be reviewing later in the week. Tomorrow, I Love You Tomorrow, myself, Harry Broadhurst, and Chris Bailey will be reviewing Hell in a Cell, which took place this weekend. If you're on TikTok, I'm on TikTok now. Fuck TikTok. And
we've created a monster, folks. God forgive us.
No. We have not created a monster with Mark in this case. This is what's going to drive him into the woods to live deliberately. He can't handle it.
Unless I'm on a park bench waiting for Godot. I took AP English. Anyway,
I took both AP English courses and passed the AP tests.
Good for you. On my TikTok, among various advertisements for this here podcast, are also my children and I doing brief 1-minute reviews of just a handful of the matches. Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair and Bailey, and
derivative.
Who's a whatsy? Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Those are on my TikTok. If you're on TikTok and you want to laugh for a minute, those are there. But an actual review done by adults, kinda, will be done on Tuesday by Harry Broadhurst, Chris Bailey, and I for Hell in the Cell. And then later in the evening, myself and Pat Mullen will be doing another chapter in the Four Kings of Boxing, this time on marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Hagler, the best.
In a show that will remain strictly audio for the time being, until we figure out the various legalities of playing music on YouTube. Myself and Jesse Scarger will be reviewing the new Fear Factory Aggression Continuum. So check that out. Apparently, at least on TikTok, people loved the idea and the advertisement for our retrospective of Pantera. So for you TikTok metalheads, more metal coming at you very soon. The aforementioned review of
a vulgar display of power might be the best album. Is one of the best albums ever released.
Yeah, very true. It's also got the greatest cover I've ever seen. I love that cover. By the way,
it's right up there with Metallica's Reloaded or Locked and Loaded. That's just a mixture of blood and bull semen.
Yeah. My favorite thing about the vulgar display of power album cover was when Ronda Rousey lost to Holly Holm, and everyone memed. Everyone memed her getting
Oh, that
kicked in
was
the
great.
face by Holly Holm, and it says a vulgar display of power.
That was
So
great.
good. I think I threw that up on my social media when it came out. I had a good laugh at it. This Friday will be a re-airing of our Furious 7 review from a few years back. Because
if memory serves, I tear that movie apart because it's terrible, and then I yell at everyone for waxing overly emotional about the film because the coda is a beautiful tribute to Paul Walker.
And which you still are.
It is. Hang on. It is. But that doesn't make the movie any better.
So our review, which was on the old feed, will be re-aired on the new feed so everyone can hear it. Our review of Fast 8 has been in the archive since it was released. So if you're interested in our thoughts on Furious 7 and 8, you'll be able to hear them on Friday. In the evening time, Jeff Sloboda will be making his monthly appearance here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. We retweaked a couple of things, and we are releasing a new podcast on the Radulich Broadcasting Network called Triple Feature. It's just 3 short-form movie reviews. So if you're like, look, you assholes, I just want to know what you thought of the movie. I don't want to sit through an hour and a half of you and Robert pulling on each other's dicks and yelling at each other. I get it, and we hear you. So in order to kind of look at some more movies that don't necessarily fit into the rubric of Damn You Hollywood, don't fit the long-form discussion mold, we are doing short-form reviews, 3 of them per show, about 20 minutes apiece on each movie. It's the first time we're trying it out. So Jeff Sloboda and I will review Awake, The Ice Road, which will be on Netflix that very same day, and Infinite, which just started streaming on Paramount Plus, which apparently sucked diddly-ucks. But we're going to talk about it, at least for 20 minutes. So that's Friday night. And then Saturday and Sunday are our re-airings of The Long Road to Ruin on the Fast and the Furious franchise. First episode is 1 through 3.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you. You lucky dog, you. That's you and Sean Comer. First episode is Saturday, episodes 1 through 3. Episodes 4, 5, 6 will be released Sunday. Alexis Hejna, I hear you do stuff. You trip up the trivia.
Yes, we just recorded our second episode of Tripped Up Trivia. It's going to be debuting as soon as Jesse Starcher finishes with the editing. Hopefully that'll be pretty soon. We're going to get ready for our next game in July. Still looking for contestants. The theme is Warner Brothers Animation. This is tying in with the release of Space Jam, the sequel. So the questions are going to be about Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera, Scooby-Doo, all that kind of fun stuff. We are still looking for contestants. If you're interested in playing with us, go ahead.
When's the recording date for that?
If I remember correctly, we have agreed it's going to be on July 10th at 8 p.m. Central. This is still audio only, solely on the grounds that I do not have video editing capabilities, and I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on Jesse to do so.
Put me down for that. The only thing going on that night is... Oh, wait. Yeah, put me down for that.
Okay.
As a definitely maybe, more leaning on the definitely. I'm supposed to go to the beach that day with my family, but I'm pretty sure we'll be back in time for an 8 o'clock recording. And the only thing going on at night is a UFC pay-per-view, which the main card doesn't even start till 10. So,
okay. All right. If you want to play, I'll put you down as a contestant.
Yeah, I'll play.
All right. Wait, awesome.
Is that 264?
It is 264. You're busy. You're always working on Saturdays. Why no one asks you to do
know,
anything?
Man. Blame the UFC schedule. There's nothing I can do about it.
All right, and in the meantime...
Look, in 6 more months, when 411 shuts down the MMA side of things for a lack of interest, my Saturdays will be my own again. But until then, this is what I do.
Do you ever have anything else to do on Saturdays if you weren't covering these?
Yeah, he'd be doing fight coverage with me.
I would make time for trivia because I love trivia, so... Look, as soon as I get done with this, Mark will try to Shanghai me into doing something else. Like, so you gonna start a combat sports podcast for me to pimp as soon as I get done with the one that I already do?
Hey, I know you're not doing MMA anymore, but have you thought about boxing?
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I thought very little about it. There's some of it that I watch it on occasion.
This is why when I see you in August, Mark, at Disney World, I'm going to be punching you in the stomach repeatedly going, okay, so this is for Robert, this is for Jesse, this is for Pat.
Speaking of which, did you happen to see in the chat, I don't know, because sometimes you don't have the chat on, so you might have missed the announcement. We are starting a new, and it might end up being YouTube only. It's me and Jonas doing a a alternative commentary for Bob Sapp's Tour of Defeat.
I thought
Nice.
that was a joke.
It's
No,
not.
No, do that. That'll be Dude, him reacting to that giant human being flopping over the first time a stiff breeze comes his way will be great.
Someone
Do that.
someone did a compilation video documenting his Tour of Defeat, which, Alexis, I know you're not a combat sports person. That's what it was called. Bob Sapp, what was it, like once a week or a month or so, had
He
an
was
MMA
fighting-
fight
God,
in,
yeah,
in every
so
dark
often.
corner of the world, and it would and someone would do, and he'd fall over, and that would be the end of the fight. It was great. It was high comedy in theater.
It made him so much money.
Yeah,
Like,
he made.
and to
I
be
think-
fair, like
Didn't
he
you hear
wasn't.
Hawani like interview him, and he was like, "I'm not getting hurt in there. Fuck you."
Yeah, like he wasn't even throwing. Like you might think he's throwing these fights. He's not
Right.
throwing them. He goes out there and he tries his hardest until he. No, seriously, he tries to win until there's a single bit of opposition. Then he falls over like a scared goat.
Yeah, like that, like he just did on
Yeah.
camera.
It's hilarious. So you and Jonas are gonna have a good time with that.
Okay, come back and do your plugs.
Sorry, but when you two start talking about this stuff, it's like, okay, this is my cue to go get a drink. But since I'm on camera, it's like, screw it, I'm just gonna lie down. I'm gonna just follow my Labrador here, and it's like, and good night. All right, and yes, the plugs that actually pay my bills. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. For those who have not heard yet, okay, I gotta ask, Robert, what's in the Stein?
Not alcohol.
Cherry Coke.
I was curious.
This is actually apparently just the same mug that Thor uses in Thor Ragnarok that Doctor Strange fills up with beer for him. So it's
Nice.
huge. This is a very large glass, which I got for Christmas last year. One of my brothers got it for me. So I use it. It takes about two cans of soda to fill it up. So
Not bad. All right, sorry. When you drank for that earlier, I was like, okay, I got to know what the hell you're drinking out of that thing because I know it's not
Soda.
alcohol.
there's some variety of soda. It's
All
about to
right.
be filled up with a mixture of squirt and cran raspberry from Ocean Spray.
See, it always reminds me of a clip from Whose Line Is It Anyway with Drew Carey, because he drinks out of the mug, and it was a blooper reel thing, and I think it was Ryan's like, so what's in the mug, Drew? And he goes, I don't know, might be Pepsi, might be Coke, might be RC, whoever wants to pay me money, but whatever it is, it sure tastes good.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, those who haven't heard, we are going to be back on the road coming here pretty soon. We're going to KC Crypticon. This is a horror-themed convention. So happy to be back on the road. After that, we're going to be heading to Orlando for MegaCon. This is our first time going down there, and yes, I'm going to be meeting up with there you, Mark.
Yep.
I keep forgetting the stupid things reversed.
It is.
Yeah. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. Until then, our shops are fully stocked on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. We just uploaded a handful of new items, including some new pieces celebrating Loki for those who are getting into the Disney Plus Marvel series. We just uploaded a ton of stuff from the always popular show Ruby. Mark, is Lily into Ruby? I don't know if I've asked this or not.
What's Ruby?
That answers my question. It is a show.
She would tell you if she was. It's that kind of show. Like the people
Yeah.
who love it are very, very into it.
Is it an
Very
anime?
much.
Yeah,
Sort of.
it's all computers. I think it's all on YouTube, isn't it?
Some of it's on YouTube. It's all on Amazon Prime, though.
Yeah.
That's where I've been watching it. It's one of those very similar to Avatar, where it's designed to look like anime, but it's animated. It's actually through Rooster Teeth. They're the
Okay.
company that makes it.
I'll know about it.
First couple of seasons are apparently pretty good. I'd jump off the train after that point.
Trust me, if the main characters are 4 girls who go to a school to learn how to become fighters to take down horrible monsters in their land, and every weapon they use is also a gun, it's right up Lily's alley. Believe me, she would love it.
If she can deal with the animation style, she will probably enjoy it. Yes.
Oh, she'll love it. She would love it. But it's spelled RWBY. So trust me, get her into it. She's going to love it. And I'm not just saying that because we have several pieces inspired by Ruby, and your daughter is one of my best customers.
You mean Mark's one of your best customers? He's the one paying.
Very true. Well, if he's not going to pay me for these appearances, he might as well pay me for my jewelry. Make his daughter happy. All right. Yes, our shops are on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Take me home, baby doll.
All right. I covered UFC on ESPN 25 on Saturday. Was an event. Had some good stuff on it. You can check out my full report in the MMA Zone of 411 Mania. I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. That being most Sunday evenings, occasionally earlier in the day, sometimes later, depending on how my life goes.
Did you, on your last show, did you praise Inoue?
Of course.
Good.
I made time to talk about a couple of the major boxing events because one of the Charlo brothers, I can never keep straight which one is which, because they're twins. They're twins, and their names are Jermal and Jermel.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, he fought on Showtime Saturday night.
I was going to say, what kind of a cruel mother does that to her kids?
His fight was basically Rocky. Like, he fought an overmatched kind of late notice replacement guy, and that guy wobbled him, and like he lost the decision, but put up a heck of a fight. Then you had Anderson Silva beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a boxing bout, and Jr. just continuing to prove that he is a clown.
Mungia fought on DAZN, but like fought really early, like fought at 6 o'clock, and yeah, he did pretty well in his fight. I think it ended in like the 6th or 7th round.
And then, of course, Inoue with his 3rd round stoppage with body shots.
There was a small part of me that was like, hey, guys, you want to jump on real quick? And I'm like, it'll take me longer to set up the StreamYard for this than it will.
Then
the fight will.
True.
The fight will be. Yeah.
That's how that wound up going. But so, yeah, I talked about Inoue. I previewed the upcoming card, which is not anything anyone would care about, unless you're me. News of the week. It's a nice little stop in the weekend of combat sports, mostly fixated on the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. So please give that a listen. Let's see. This later today, I will be covering AEW's Dark Elevation show because I do that.
I can see the pain in your face.
It does hurt me so deeply.
I think everything you do for this network hurts.
I don't do that for the network.
That's his paid gig.
Yeah. I have a little bit of cash to ease the pain of watching, that particular show. Lest anyone who's a fan of AEW hear this and go, if you hate it, why are you watching? 1, because it's, again, part of my job. 2, I don't mind doing stuff I don't like, which might sound weird, but given that I do this show, that's very, very true.
I was going to say, welcome to Damn You Hollywood.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
My network appearances overall is about more 60-40 stuff I enjoy and stuff that I don't. So I'll take the ratio. Wednesday, I will be covering MLW's Underground Re-Air, assuming that's what goes up. And Friday, WWE SmackDown on the heels of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which was a little bit of a dud from everything that I've heard, seen, and read. We'll see. That's Karrion Kross's little gag, right? Like that's his phrase. His TikTok. It's coming.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, like, what, he twitches like an idiot?
No, he's a TikTok.
Gotcha.
And at the moment, we'll be feuding with Samoa Joe, apparently, but that's neither here nor there. So Friday, WWE SmackDown. We'll see what reductive, redundant insanity goes on over there while they desperately try to find something for Roman to do, and he desperately tries to make the most mundane stuff interesting. And God bless him, he's doing it more often than not. So you can find all of that in the Wrestling Zone to 411 Mania. I believe that's all my podcast duties. Let me pull up the calendar real quick. I'm pretty sure that's all I've got for this week. I'm not going to be on that.
Yeah, you're done for the week, bud.
Yeah, I'm done for the week. And then next week there will be Fast 9, the Fast Saga, which I fully anticipate urinating all over.
Yeah, that's just me and you, by the way. I don't think anyone else is doing that one.
I'm sure one of your kids, after seeing it, will decide that they want to.
No, they won't. no, they won't. They are fucking done with the Fast and the Furious. Like, they're excited to go see 9. But when I told them there were 2 more movies eventually coming out, because there was a rumor, there was an article going around that they're going to go to 11. Even my son was like, what more are they going to say about the Fast and the Furious? Where else is there to go?
Well, we know at least 10 is going to be in space.
Yeah. And that's
we say that jokingly. I'm pretty sure it's true. Like, they're Fast and the Furious.
They keep talking about it. So just so we can get this over with, my kids have enjoyed the experience of hanging out with their dad and going to see these movies, but we're going to get to 9 and they're going to be like, "Oh, we're done."
As this franchise should have been 4 movies ago.
All right, we good?
Yeah, I think that's it. That's all the things. That's all the stuff I do. Thank you all very much for those of you that listen. I don't do this all the time, but I should. Thank you for your likes, comments, subscriptions. You can listen to us on any of your podcast platforms of choice. There's a very nice link tree that Mark's put together with all the different players where you can find us. Whatever you choose, however you choose to listen to us, interact with the product a little bit. It helps the algorithm, and the algorithm controls all. Much like Mark's TikToking, he is now a slave to the algorithm. It controls everything. Help us with the algorithm, please. We appreciate that.
With that said, thanks for joining us on our review of Pixar's Luca. Be well, be safe, and TikTok.